4 times Luka Doncic absolutely owned his competition. Luka Doncic has absolutely dominated his entire competition in less than 100 games played in the NBA. It seems like coaches will just throw out their game plans against Luka because whatever coverage they throw at Luka, nothing works. Luka has owned everyone who has ever doubted him, including teams that took other players before him in the 2018 draft. How do you think the Suns and Kings feel? Keep watching to see the 4 times that Luka absolutely owned his competition. The draft. Luka Doncic wasn't the first overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft. He also wasn't the second pick in the 2018 draft. But if we repeated the draft the following season, Luka would easily be the number 1 pick. Think about this too. Not even the third team wanted Luka and traded down to get another player and assets. Luka is a fantastic playmaker, and he proved just how athletic he really was, while critics believed he didn't have enough in the tank to make it in the NBA at the level he's playing at. One team truly believed in Luka. Sure, other teams did too, but Dallas made the jump from 3 to 5 to draft Luka. It's as simple as this. The Dallas Mavericks knew what he could become. We were in a rebuild, and there were obvious conversations about who was good in the draft in the coming year. Mavericks head coach Rick Carlisle said, "We weren't projected to be good, so I just asked general manager Donnie Nelson the general question, who's going to be the best player coming out? And he said, it's Doncic. It's not even close." We got into a deeper conversation about it, but he just said he's got the elements of some of the great international players of all time. Plus, he's an original. Luka is having a monster second season, averaging a near triple-double with almost 30 points per game. Luka has been great using angles and has an elite basketball IQ, which were characteristics that he showed with Real Madrid during his earlier days before playing in the NBA. This season, Luka has dominated by getting into the paint while collapsing the defense. He's proved his critics wrong about finishing inside. Everyone knew he could shoot it, but would he be able to finish plays at the rim? That was a real question. Luka is taking about 31% of his shots at the rim, and another 25% in the short mid-range, which is between 4 and 14 feet from the basket. Not only does he get to the rim with ease, Luka is also finishing and scoring around the rim with ease too. He shoots 74% around the rim. If you look at other big men around the league, they don't even shoot 74% from the floor. Luka is in the 98th percentile when it comes to finishing around the rim. The only players that are finishing around the rim with a higher percentage are Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Getting into the middle of the defense is at the core of the Mavericks offense. And while Luka changes the pace and direction, he's become more shifty, and that allows him to beat defenders he would never be able to get past if he relied on pure athleticism. He just has a way of getting in there. He does it all different kinds of ways, Carlisle said. Left or right, it doesn't really matter. He can go either direction very effectively. Just has a very good knack for keeping the defense off balance. Plus, Luka's perimeter game sets up most of his game. It's Luka's angles that have helped him become the premier player at his position. It doesn't matter to Doncic how he gets into the lane, but he wants to make sure that he is consistently getting there. When he's able to disguise moves, he's able to create space and get shots off with no one around to stop him. It's important that this kid is his own player, and he truly is, Carlisle said. Each month, he continues to develop and learn more and hone certain skills even more. He's a very exciting player to watch. I understand the hype. To DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley III, you've got owned. To the teams like the Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, and even the Atlanta Hawks, you've got owned. Luka has become a bona fide star and will be one for the rest of his career. His work ethic and basketball IQ has put him at the top, and because these teams didn't see it, they've been owned. Pickup basketball game. After his rookie season, Luka started to become the face of the Dallas Mavericks. Fans couldn't wait for the regular season to begin for his sophomore season. The 20-year-old had an incredible rookie campaign, but didn't make the All-Star game or anything like that. He did win the Rookie of the Year, but to Luka and his fans, that wasn't enough. Before the next season began, Luka showed off his talent and promise as a rookie and wanted more. Luka's #1 priority was to lead the Mavericks to the playoffs in 2020. This looks like it's going to happen. He focused on improving his conditioning this summer and wanted to be ready for the 82-game grind of the NBA regular season. Due to injuries, Luka has missed time, but his conditionings have been much better. Either way, fans were very pleased about his look in an Instagram post posted before the season. Luka took some time off and went home to Europe, but when he finally came back to the United States, Luka was caught balling in a pickup game. This was the game where fans around the NBA knew that Luka was coming. Thanks to Ball's life, fans were able to watch Luka in an open gym before the season began. Luka worked on his step back and had a couple exciting assists in the video post. Luka was seen playing with Dorian Finley-Smith, Justin Jackson, and Isaiah Roby, along with Monta Ellis. At this moment, everyone around the league realized just how special Luka was going to be with his unique and exceptional talent. Luka looked ready for the season, and it showed after Luka was named an NBA All-Star for the first time in his career. With the way things are going, this won't be his last All-Star game. One day, Luka might be picking his team for the All-Star game. Let's just hope he has a better strategy than Giannis does. His stats. We've seen plenty of sophomore players in the league take major leaps in the NBA. It's usually expected for a top 3 pick in the NBA draft to continue to progress and become that star the teams predicted from the get-go. Still, if you predicted that Luka would be this good in his second season, most people would have been impressed. As stated earlier, Luka is almost averaging a 30-point triple-double per game. Now that Luka is healthy again, those numbers will likely only increase from here. ESPN's Tim Ledger described one of Luka's performances as the best quarter and best half by a player this season. Legler went on to praise Luka, comparing him to all-time greats. I'm seeing a Larry Bird type, with his pace and the way you can't speed him up, his shooting ability from the deep. But if Larry Bird had a tighter handle and a better first step, Legler said, that's really what Luka Doncic is. He added Doncic's ability to score and beat opponents with his playmaking is LeBron James-esque. Of course, there were some concerns around Luka heading into the 2018 draft about his athleticism and ability to get shots off on bigger, faster opponents then. We already know that he owned that draft. Again, Luka still doesn't wow with his athletic ability, but his skills are so smooth at 20 years old that defense doesn't seem to matter. Doncic's step-back 3 has also become a signature move. As Legler said, Doncic is never hurried, even on drives to the rim, and his vision makes him one of the best passers in the league already. The stats are impressive any way you spin them. Doncic has a 30-point triple-double against the Warriors, and got there within the quickest time in NBA history. He's also the youngest player to produce back-to-back 30-point triple-doubles, beating a legend named Oscar Robertson, who did it at 22 years old. Luka has averaged a 30-point triple-double over his last 10 games, joining just Robertson, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Russell Westbrook as the only players to do that. Lastly, he's the only player in the top 15 in points, rebounds, and assists per game this season. We were talking about if he can keep this up, and I was like, yo, if somebody can keep this up, it's him. Mavs guard JJ Barea said via ESPN's Tim McMahon. He plays on the ground, he's super smart, he's shooting the ball well. He's finishing really well. I see him keeping it up. It's not hard for him to do this right now. He's not forcing crazy stuff. It's just coming. That's why I think he can keep this up. He's making it look easy. Doncic's production has basically just become routine to Mavericks head coach Rick Carlisle. He's a very special player on a special role, Carlisle said. There's not much else to say. This isn't a big news flash now. This is getting to be pretty normal. Doncic will certainly have down nights in his career, but his average is figured to stay the same. He's not shooting with crazy efficiency. Luka is just 48% from the field and 33.8% from 3. A majority of Doncic's three-point attempts are difficult, but he's also shooting just 31% on catch-and-shoot opportunities per Second Spectrum data. That's literally below average number for a naturally good shooter. Luka's also averaging 9 free throw attempts per game, a number that could decrease by the end of the season. But Doncic's style of play, by getting into the lane, should help him continue to draw fouls where he's shooting 81.5% from the line. That's sustainable. Luka has been dominating the game at the NBA level since he's made his debut. He's played less than 100 games in his career, and he's just getting started. Mexico City. Luka Doncic scored 41 points and posted his 8th triple-double of the season in the opener of this year's NBA Mexico Games on December 12, 2019. Luka had already dominated in Europe and the United States, so taking his talent to Mexico City was just another country he could showcase his skills, while owning his competition. Along with Luka's 41 points, he's finished with 12 rebounds and 11 assists for the Mavericks, who are off to their best 24-game start since posting the same mark at this point of the 2014-2015 season. Doncic's 8 triple-doubles had already matched his total from his rookie season. It was the 29th game in Mexico since 1992, the most of any country other than the US or Canada in that span, and came on a night where the NBA announced that Capitans, a Mexican City-based team in that country's top pro league, will be joining the G League starting next season. Doncic addressed the crowd pre-game in perfect Spanish before turning the microphone over to Detroit's Blake Griffin. Doncic, meanwhile, went on to post his second 40-point triple-double of the season and became the first player in NBA history to have multiple 40-point triple-doubles before turning 21, as his birthday is on February 28th. Doncic was the catalyst in this game with the highest individual point total and first triple-double in the NBA game in Mexico City. Dwayne Casey, head coach of the Detroit Pistons, explained in this game that the Pistons had an off shooting night where they missed a bunch of shots that they normally would make, but he also gave credit to Luka. Casey said that defensively, the Pistons missed a bunch of rotations as they tried to get the ball out of Luka's hands. Casey admitted the game plan was difficult to do and that Luka sees the whole floor so well. Luka picked the Pistons apart in Mexico. In Mexico City, the fans were extremely knowledgeable about the NBA. They gave strong ovations for Luka, Kristaps Porzingis, along with Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose. Earlier in the game, Rose received MVP chants when he came in off the bench. After the game, though, the fans knew who the real MVP was. Luka owned the game, and he owned the competition. Soon, he'll own his very own MVP trophy, and those MVP chants will be his.